Well, listen, guys, I'm gonna go right into this, all right? Because this guy's ready to just drop bombs. This is like Craig, you're like the first guest on the Brotherhood podcast. I changed it from hanging out with Meltzer and my buddy Randy Garn and all these incredible people I'm meeting like yourself. The Brotherhood podcast, yeah, this is a live podcast for everybody. So we're gonna stream this on my page and everything, and I'm just gonna make sure everybody's muted. But Craig, real quick, the quick background on the Brotherhood. I recently went through a major spiritual transformation myself. I'm now part of a church that changed my life, and the Brotherhood came from that because these people are just amazing people. That when I became a member, they're just like, Nick, you're in the Brotherhood now. We have a responsibility to help you. So we only bring people in like you and other people that are here to help people. That's what we're here to do. So you're the first one on the actual Brotherhood podcast, brother. So
What an honor.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And like I said, you have a bunch of martial arts legends and people. Some of these guys, they've been doing martial arts 30, 40 years. They're all just amazing humans. They're amazing people. So and I told them all, like, guys, when you're in our Brotherhood, like if you want to reach out to Craig and get him on your podcast or get him on any interview, he's all yours, guys. Like reach out to him. And if you guys get in touch with him, we're trying to work something out for him to come to the Brotherhood boot camp on August 18th in Long Island with Clinton. So he might be there. I haven't confirmed it yet, but we're trying to get him to come. I thought it'd be great to have him in person to be and speak at that event. So we're talking about that too. But Craig, man, enough about that. Let's just get right into this, brother. I just want you to tell them your story first, man. I mean, when I met you, I right away I knew this guy was just successful by looking at him. He's well put together, and then so tell them the whole story about the success you had on Wall Street, and then the shift. Can we start with that first?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you guys for having me. No place in the world that I'd rather be right here than with you guys. My only ask is that we all just connect right now to this collective conscious, to this energy, and let's just be one and super powerful. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So in regards to my story, I think I had two lives. It feels like one was prior to the pandemic and one has been since. And so prior to the pandemic, I spent 13 years on Wall Street, totally different arena. And I was having success. And I put that in quotations because I was making money and I was building my career, I guess you could say, in that vehicle. But ultimately, Wall Street was a lot of fun until it wasn't. It got to a point where, number one, the stress began to outweigh the positive, and I just really began to feel connected that I was here for something much more. Not that there's anything wrong with Wall Street. I just had personally outgrown it, and I was looking to do something more meaningful and impactful with my life. But it's not exactly like I figured this out in one day and just left. I suffered for a few years, and that was my choice, right? I didn't think that there was another narrative. It felt like I was stuck, and it got pretty dark for me. And a few years back, I just got out of a toxic relationship, which is never fun. Um, my best friend, my dad, had just gotten diagnosed with cancer. He's still battling. And even though I had my own business and I was doing my thing, every day when I woke up and I went to work, my soul wasn't expanding. On the contrary, it was actually contracting. And spoiler alert, it seems that we can go pretty deep here today with the right crew and get really
Absolutely.
spiritual. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, the soul is here to expand, to grow, to learn, to get to new levels of expansion. And in fact, the one thing that your soul resents is being boxed in and being contracted and not being able to grow. And so I just found myself in a really dark season. I was drinking a little bit more than I'd like to admit, and I was straight up miserable. I wasn't diagnosed depressed, but in my head, that's what I was. I was anxious about the future. I was depressed about the past, and I was nowhere but the present. And so all of a sudden, I just felt very cold one day to start running. And I'd always like to work out and lift weights, not like professional or anything like that. I just, I had my routine. One day I went for a 2 mile run, and I got to tell you, I was humbled. 2 mile run. It was a struggle for me to finish that thing without, turning it into like a light jog. And I came home that day. And by the way, I'm weird and I also have a very obsessive personality, this time used for the good. And I said, was that 2 mile run really that hard? Like, am I not in good physical shape or is it my mental fitness? And so I started Googling running, this other thing. Next day, ran 3 miles. All of a sudden, signed up for 5K, 10K. I'm like, what are we doing here? Signed up for the New York City Marathon. Playing small is canceled, by the way. And so
Yeah.
I just started running all these marathons. That year, I ended up running 4 marathons from not being able to really run a mile to running four. And I started to run really, really fast. And I was getting good at it. But here's the kicker. I wasn't looking to become a professional runner. I was all about the transformation and I was looking to find myself. And every time I would step into the arena to run, I would have to battle the opponent, which is public enemy number one, the opponent that we all have, the ego, the limiting beliefs, the voice in our head that tells us that we're unworthy. It's too late for us. Just stop running. You've done enough. And so every time I would resist the temptation of giving into that, I would expand my vessel. I would reveal more light and I'd go to a new level. So I became obsessed with that. And running was great. And then fast forward the pandemic, bang. I mean, talk about a global awakening. I looked at this as an historic opportunity to just reassess. If not now, then when? And so from really starting to go deep with the spirituality and so forth, I really connected to creator. And I was able to be that channel where the divine download started coming through. And it occurred to me that I had been obsessed with personal development for 15 years,
Mhm.
studying it like a lunatic. I used it to build business on Wall Street, to make money, to create relationships. I just didn't think I was worthy of turning personal development into a career until I realized I think this is more than just a passion. I think this is my assignment. And so I put together a whole strategy and I built in my head what was a 10-lane highway for my brand CLS. I want it to be the future of personal development. Like when you think of maybe Apple for technology, think of CLS. And I said, okay, what are 10 lanes in the highway that we could focus on to make an impact and do business? Coaching, speaking, book deal, TED Talk, community, shows, and so forth. And then I reverse engineered. I said, well, what's step one? I had no following, no celebrity friends, no connection at the time. I started putting out content. And then I had that one voice that came back. You sure you want to do this a little bit late for you? You already have the Wall Street thing going on. And then I considered what I like to call the COI, the cost of inaction. For me, it was actually my life because quite frankly, I wasn't even alive on Wall Street. I was just existing. And so I made the decision to leave Wall Street behind to do something meaningful with my life. And for the first time in my life, I was in alignment, as I know, like, Nick likes when I say
Yeah.
that word. And over the last 4 years, guys, the brand, just to say very humbly, it exploded. We've one of the top podcasts on the planet, sponsored by Mark Cuban, speaking all over the world, just spoke at the UN, coaching, Wall Street Journal bestselling book, all the things, getting married in less than 2 months. So it wasn't just a career reinvention. That's what I'm really most pumped about. And all the things, left Wall Street for good. And this is it for me in some capacity for the rest of my life. And we're just getting warmed up. A long-winded answer, but at least now everybody has context on what's possible in a pretty short amount of time once you decide and connect.
Guys, let's give him a hand. That is badass. That is like, that is, it doesn't just get you pumped up. That's why I said, Craig, when I read your book, I'm like, I couldn't put it down because I feel like you're like telling me like, keep going, Nick, or just whatever. So it was awesome. Uh, and I love your story of your dad. Like, the marathon, like you said that, you were doing it for him to show them the strength. Before we talk about your dad, could you tell people about the story of like how you with your foot and then how you found out you had cancer? Like
Oh
that
yeah.
that was just incredible.
Yeah. So I started getting CLS going
Yeah.
and we're probably about a year and a half into it. And started to have a lot of momentum. Things are popping off, making money, helping people, all the things. And then I was at a speaking engagement with our mutual friend Dave, and
Yeah.
we're all playing football on the beach. Probably not a good idea. And I got injured, and I came home, and it was misdiagnosed. As it turns out, I did not have a sprained ligament. I had a tumor in my foot. And think about like spiritually speaking, like I had to be playing football on the beach so that I can get injured, so I can get this thing checked out. There's no such thing as coincidences. Talk
Mhm.
about divine direction.
Yep.
And so I was pretty shaken up about it. And I got surgery and I got the thing taken out. It came back benign, thank God. But I was on crutches, I had a hole in my foot and so forth. And I just started to really go. I believe, guys, if you want to go higher, you got to go deeper. And I really started to connect and understand that we all are here having a human experience, but inside the human experience is a soul. And that's really connected to infinite. And so I ended up running the New York City Marathon be less than 2 months after the surgery. with barely any physical training and ran a PR at the time. I think at the time it was a 3:39. And that was pretty cool and badass too. But that was such a good lesson as to there's nothing that we can't do when we're really connected. Even physical limitations can kind of be turned on its head if you have the right mindset, and spiritually speaking, you're very connected. So yeah, that happened too.
Greg, I have to tell them the story that this is what I loved about you was, I mean, you'll know that I read the book here. Like you basically, you were like, I felt so similar when you were like, I'm so busy, I'm on a run,
Yeah,
my business is on fire, and the doctor calls me and he says to you like, I think you should come in. You're like, listen, just tell me tell me whatever it is, I don't care. And he's like, I
yeah,
think you should come in. And then like he was like, okay, well, I think you might have a tumor. And
yeah,
basically, like right then and there, I love your attitude, how you basically explained that to them, where basically you're like, I didn't go into any type of feeling bad for myself. I decided right then and there, this is an opportunity. Like that was
yeah,
badass, bro. Like cause you tell them
yeah.
that was like, to me, I was like, oh, this guy's a bad dude. And I loved it.
Thank you for bringing that up, brother. I appreciate that. The old Craig would have handled it a lot differently. The old Craig was a lot less connected and enlightened. I would have had a hell of a pity party. And
Really,
I,
really,
I,
the old Craig would have had, you would have been like more of a pity party back then.
oh yeah.
Wow, I
And
love that.
so because I started to do so much more work on myself over the last few years, guys. Like all the inner work is everything, as you guys know, especially with what you guys do. And so once I got that call, I was a little bit in shock, and I said, "All right, this is an opportunity. I'm not going to turn into victim consciousness, which
Mhm.
most people that just plagues them. I will allow myself today to feel a little sorry for myself, and then tomorrow morning we're back at it, and we're finding the best doctors in New York City has to offer to get this thing checked out, and what are next steps." So I took that night, and I think it's good, guys. And again, spoiler, because we're having a human experience, all of us, nobody's exempt, will go to that dark place, whether you're feeling bad for yourself or something happens or you're just having a day, whatever the case may be. But I think a really good tool that you can take from today is how often do you go to that dark place and how long do you stay there? And if you can make a commitment that I'm only going to go there for 1 hour or it's once a month or whatever the case may be, then you just commit to that and then you don't stay there long. So you allow yourself the grace that you do have feelings and then boom, you don't stay there. So I give myself the day. The next day I found the doctors and started getting going. And I just looked at that whole situation as, look, guys, I don't know how deep and spiritual you guys are on an individual basis, but I think we can agree there are no coincidences. Things always happen for us. I think everything the creator does for us is actually net positive, even if we don't know it at the time. And so I just looked at this as an
Yeah.
opportunity to not be reactive, but instead transform to proactive, which I think is one of the most powerful consciousness there is.
Love it. Powerful stuff, brother. Tell us about CLS, what it stands for, how you created it, what it means to you. I know you're so passionate about it. These guys are probably wondering what CLS is that haven't read the book. Tell us about CLS, bro.
Yeah. And I want to acknowledge you guys are on fire right now. I love to make this very engaging, guys, not a talk.
Yeah.
Drop some nuggets in the chats or the comments, whatever grabs you, and maybe we'll do a giveaway to the person who engages the most from here on out. Whoever's the most engaged, whoever's the best nugget. You could
Love it.
text whatnot. Alex, you could drop the my cell phone number in the chat. And in regard to CLS, guys, I told you before, and I'll say it again. I'm very weird, and I'll
Love
never
it.
forget when I was on a run in Central Park right before CLS was born, and I started to get these downloads out of nowhere. I was like, cultivate lasting symphony because I don't want the brand to be like, oh, like an inspirational video, you get excited and then the next week it's back. I want this to be lasting. It's a change in consciousness. And for some reason, I always gravitated to the word symphony. I just liked it. For me, it reminded me of like, I just think of like an orchestra all playing in tempo. And also CLS is a play on my initials, Craig Landon Siegel. I'll never
Wow.
forget, guys. I
Yeah.
happened to, I was on a run in Central Park beginning of the pandemic. This came to me. I pulled over, went to a bench, Central Park. Somehow I remembered GoDaddy, like you can grab domains. I sprinted to GoDaddy as if someone else was trying to grab Cultivate Lasting Symphony, but I grabbed it and I got to tell you, that move right there was so much positive energy and momentum towards it. All I did was grab a domain. I came home, I brought a whiteboard, I started to get momentum. I was thinking of logos and LLC, and I just never looked back. that simple move for me made it very real and it started to give energy. In life, guys, you're either a builder or a destroyer with every thought, everything that you do. And so buying that domain turned me into a builder right there. And I just started the compound and it gave me so much momentum. Don't underestimate a small move like that.
Love that. Guys, drop your best takeaway so far in the chat real quick while you're because he loves engagement. We'll come back to that in a
Love
second. Yeah, so that was awesome. And then Craig, with CLS, so then you started the momentum. What was the first thing you do to get started? You got started. Like you said, you started making content. Could you take
Yeah.
us to that? Because a lot of these guys in here are looking to start something on their own right now too, like their own
Oh,
little thing.
good.
Could you give
Good.
them maybe the first three things you did?
Yeah. First and foremost, one of my favorite chapters in the book is messy action. Everyone's always waiting for like the next thing that we have to do for success. Let's start with some stuff that we can actually take out, right? Give yourself permission to be less than perfect, right? There's no such thing as the perfect time to have a kid, start a business, to put out content, anything. First 8 months of CLS, guys, I didn't even have a laptop. Straight up, I was going like
Wow.
this with my iPhone and I was just filming stuff. It was raw, but it was real and it was authentic. It wasn't pretty. You can go back now, you'll have a good chuckle. As I like to say, if you're not embarrassed with who you were a year ago, you're probably not growing enough. And so I just started putting out content and I was building a community. Big difference between an audience and a community. What we're in right now with you guys, community. Everyone's engaging. You guys support each other. I imagine even if Nick wasn't in the room right now, you guys still be engaging. That's a beautiful thing. Audience is like one to many. Nothing wrong with that. But community for me is much more intimate. And I feel like we could scale that and build it. And everybody supports each other. So I started putting out content. It was not pretty. Didn't have a content creator at the time. Didn't even have a laptop. And I just started like introducing myself, going to lookalike audiences like Tony Robbins and so forth, meeting people, bringing them to my free group that I had on Facebook. And I just started building. And one of the most important things I think, guys, is I understood the superpower that is accessible to all of us here today. And that is consistency. And if you're willing to be consistent and committed, it's only a matter of time before you figure it out. And then you tap that with the spiritual stuff, the married, the practical, and the spiritual. I mean, the world is yours straight up. So I was super consistent in a time, especially when a lot of people in the beginning of the pandemic were watching a lot of Tiger King and having a glass of
Yep.
wine a day, not being judgmental, to each their own. I just saw that as a great opportunity to really make the use of the time.
Craig, this is my favorite question because I think I'm the most bizarre, weird person there is. Like I joke with you all the time. Like I think I'm so weird. Weird stuff like food, water, like just like so. Tell us, like, give us a couple things. How are you weird? Give us some things that make you weird. I think we would love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you have? You know,
I
like
love it. Well, we
I,
have to, yeah. Well, you
so
have
I
to
get so I get 2 haircuts a week. So right out the gate, that's weird.
get out of here.
Yeah. And number two, I refer to my haircut as my hair piece. And so I'll always be like, I just got a fresh hair piece. And my mom's like, Craig, you gotta stop saying that. I mean, everyone's gonna think you're wearing a toupee. I'm like, so what? Who cares? I say very strange things, like to say you dig. I don't know. I don't have a filter. I'm not afraid, for people to not like my flavor and so forth. I'm just weird. I still like professional wrestling. I grew up with it. I've had a lot of the rest. Yeah, hell yeah. I've had a lot of the wrestlers on the podcast and a lot of my good friends. It's a guilty pleasure of mine that I never outgrew and I never will. And I don't know. I just like to be, I love deep conversations. I really don't, I'm not interested in like, surface level small talk, but I also like to laugh and I like to be fun. And I think that's a really big component for life as well.
That is the haircut thing is awesome. I thought I get a haircut every week, and like people think I'm crazy. You go twice a week. I like it's because you. I
Not
know.
every week, but
Yeah.
often
Okay.
twice a week, but at least
Wow.
one.
Okay. I like that. That's really cool. So let's get these guys to ask some questions. You want some
Yeah,
engagement? Let's get these guys to ask some
yeah,
questions.
let's do it, guys.
Guys, who wants to go first? Just give me a raise of hand, and I'll call on you real quick. Who's ready to go? The question.
Sure. I love it.
Godfather. We call him the Godfather because he is the Godfather of the martial arts. He's
I love
like the man. He's one of my favorite guys in the world. Antonio Fournier. What's your question for Craig, brother?
Hey, it's gonna be very simple. Who's your favorite wrestler?
It's
Past,
actually,
present, future.
yeah. Okay. Back in the day, I was a big Bret Hart fan. Back in the day.
Hitman.
Yeah, of course. Bret the Hitman Hart. And then I also love Hogan. That he probably got me into wrestling, but being honest, I think I like Hogan and the
Yeah.
Macho Man. And then
Macho Man, love him.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
great. And then, you know, today, um, who do I like Seth Rollins. I don't even know if you're familiar. He's
Oh
like the
yeah, I love Seth.
yeah, Monday
Yeah.
Night Rollins. He's great. I love the storylines that they're doing now. They got bought out by the same company that bought over the USC. You know, Triple
Yeah.
H is taking over, and they're all about long-term storytelling now, and it's just beautiful. But
Awesome.
Hogan back today, Macho Man, Bret Hart, and then the new guys today as well. How about
Yeah.
you, there?
I have Bruno Sammartino,
Nice.
the living legend.
Yeah, nice. It's a good
Then
one.
I became friends with Bob Backlund,
Wow.
some of the guys back in the day as well. And so it was all good. That's why I love pro wrestling. And you
Same.
write about the story. The storylines get long and crazy, and they're all writing their stories. And it just kind of reminds us what Nick is doing with trying to, make a movement, not just marketing.
That's right. Yes. I love it. And it evokes emotion. It makes you care about them. It's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Craig, I have a question. Guys, if you want to raise your hand or put the question in the chat, I'll go right on to you. But I have a question for you, Greg. What would be the top 3 books you've read?
Yeah. The Power of Positive Thinking
Mhm.
by Norman, I think it was Peele or no, I forgot the last name.
Norman Vincent Peale.
Norman Vincent Peale, that's right. Just a one that I probably listen to once a month on Audible, going for a run or something. Just so good, gets you in the right state of mind. Um, a book that kind of set me off was kind of like my gateway for the spiritual stuff was The Secret.
Mhm.
And now a lot of them from the book have become really good friends of mine. They've been on the show and so forth. I mean, you can go a lot deeper from The Secret, but that for me opened the doors and starting to understand law of attraction and stuff of that nature. And then, you know, I don't want to say Think and Grow Rich just because it's probably everybody's favorite. So I want to say something different. I'm really into Kabbalah. Um, and The Power of Kabbalah is probably the best introductory book that I've ever read on really understanding the system, the blueprint for the soul, how to tap into the system, achieve lasting fulfillment, money, all that stuff. The Power of Kabbalah, probably one that not a lot of people knows, which is a great one.
Read it too. Yeah, that's great. Master Ace, a question for Craig?
Let's do it.
Yeah, brother.
Sorry, I just wrote down the books there for everyone, just to recap that.
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
And he caught me off because Bret Hart's my favorite. The best there is, the best there was, and best there ever will be. So
Wow.
Love it. That's it. Good company today. Legend.
Master Ace, you have a question for Craig?
Don't be shy, guys. Ask me anything.
I've got one. for
give me
Craig.
1 minute.
Okay, we'll go Daryl.
I've got a question.
Let him rip.
So,
Um,
Craig.
go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, Shane.
Okay, question is, you made a quote saying stepping out of your comfort zone is daunting but essential in growth. Are you holding back due to fear, like I was before I left my stable job? The question I have is, I agree with that 100%, but how? How do you step out? How do you force yourself to step into that fear? How do you motivate yourself to do what you just said? Does that make sense?
Makes all the sense. And I love the question, brother. I'm going to acknowledge you for it. I think that you have to understand what fear is, right? So, like, for example, if you don't mind, I'll just ask you straight out the gate. What is fear to you?
Fear to me is a warning sign. I don't look at fear as a negative. I look at fear as just warning me, not telling me it might be telling me to stop, but it's a warning and telling me to be cautious.
Okay. I love it. I'm going to just reframe that one a little bit for me. And I love the answer. Fear is an opportunity because when you break a fear, how powerful do you feel? Right. So anytime, guys, anyone on this call today is feeling fear, I would literally ask, like, what are you trying to tell me? Because typically fear is a flashlight that's telling you on the other side of this is your next level of expansion. Right. And so we need fear because it shows us it's a tool and a ladder to be climbed. It shows us where our individual next level is. Right. But if we don't positively proactive respond to fear, then it turns into stress and stress kills. right? So if there's anything that you're scared of, whether it's public speaking or approaching a pretty girl at the bar or running a marathon or being or anything, it's typically a sign that that's exactly what you're supposed to do to expand your vessel on what you can receive and go to your next level. So I know this is easier said than done and it comes with practice, but anytime you're feeling fear, pause, take a second, say, what are you trying to tell me or teach me right now? And on the other side of that is some massive expansion for you guys.
Love it. Thank you.
Daryl Johnson, then we'll go to Kara.
Hey, Craig, thanks for coming in today. Got a question. So in a sea of personal development coaches, speakers, entrepreneurs in the space, what other, obviously you want to be authentically yourself, which is, I think is paramount. What would be some great ways you've learned in your journey to differentiate yourself from the rest of the guys, good and bad and ugly? Some of them are great, some of them not so much.
Yeah. And there's a lot that aren't so much. And it's just that, look, we need more people like you guys that are like just doing a lot of good stuff, tapped into a higher consciousness. You want to share without an agenda, right? You do stuff not needing recognition. Can't say the same for everybody, but that's why I'm here, is to just showcase the light and so forth. I think one of the things that separates me is I'm really, really, really into the spiritual stuff, but not just woo-woo like off the reservoir. I make an intention to marry that with the practical and to actually give people a roadmap. I also think that you got to look at people's journeys. I can only speak for myself, but I think reinvention and the concept of finding your true calling and connecting to your purpose and utilizing that to make a difference in the world and unapologetically make a lot of money is one of the things that life is all about. And I've just done that. I'm not someone that's like, speaking about it from 30 years ago or a concept, literally just did that. And so, look, you got to find people on your journey that are either sitting in the seat that you like to be sitting or that you really resonate with. And also, when it comes to authenticity, I think it's one of the most powerful things that we can achieve in our life is to have the courage to really be us. And I'm going to say something really, really deep, guys. And that is, if you get to the end of your life and everybody loved you, I know for certain coming right back, because that means that you didn't shake things up and you didn't speak your mind, you didn't stand for something. Because if you really do, I promise you, not to scare you, but not everyone's going to like you, because you stand for something and you have an intentionality and you're making a difference. And so I'm just not, it's not that I don't want to be liked. Of course I do, but I'm not, it's not my, it's not my business if everybody likes me. All I can do is stay true to myself, do my best to connect and share the gifts that were given to me, because they're not mine. None of our gifts are actually ours. We're the manager of them. And it's on us to share those with the world and make a difference. And so that's my philosophy. And I'm not sure if other people are doing the same with the same consciousness. I guess that's what I would say, brother.
That's great information, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Brother, that was so in alignment with everything we're doing in the Brotherhood. That's exactly, man. I love that answer. That was honestly, I can't wait to go back and put that clip onto that one. We have time for a couple more questions, but Kara on the top left, and we'll go to Alex. Kara, you got a question for Craig? That was awesome, Craig. Thank you.
Okay, so Craig, a couple things. I just recently turned 50. And I guess it's a little bit along lines of fear, but also how do you push forward and also accept? So always a big athlete. I feel like when I was, probably a lot of you guys can relate, martial arts classes, everything at the top. And now I'm in great classes and everything, but now hanging with the younger audience is just hard. And obviously you want respect. You want to accept, like when I go work out at the gym, it's not the same as when 10 years ago. And I get that empirically, that the strength or those kind of things, I'm going to be a different body as I get older. So obviously not wanting to give in, but there's like this fear of, will people not respect me, because I can't hang or something to that extent. I'm not as strong as these 20-year-old guys, so kind of accepting where you're at, but pushing through that and also saying, okay, I can still be productive. I can still obviously be respected and so forth, even though I'm not that 20-year-old at tournaments and so forth anymore. And I feel like if I kind of get over that, there's a lot of things in work life and everything that will also align.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the beautiful vulnerability. That was awesome. 50 years young and just getting warmed up. And let me just say, I like to put a reframe, right? Because oftentimes it's just changing the conversations in our head. What's cooler and more impressive? Someone that's 25 that's crushing it in a class, or someone that's 50 that's dominating, crushing in a class? For me, 50, right? Because it's true. Our body does age over time. I imagine mentally you're probably sharper than ever, but now you're showcasing what's possible for people as they enter 40s and 50s. And you're now demonstrating that, and you're the staple for that. I would focus on that. You're not competing with anyone else. You're not competing with 20-year-olds. In fact, guys, I would even say this is some more deep stuff. The one thing that I want to encourage you to never do is to look for any type of validation outside of you, because it's just that's the best way to become disconnected or imbalanced, right? So if you ever measure yourself based upon anything that's external, like comparing yourself to others, I promise you guys, it's a lose-lose. You don't need any form of validation. You're on fire, you're doing your thing. And if anything, you're inviting, encouraging, and showcasing for the next generation at your awesome age what's possible if they could only try to keep up with you at 50 and so forth. So I would just change the consciousness and change the conversations in your head. You're not 25 anymore, and you're about to enter the greatest decade of your life, and show those cats what's possible at 50.
Love it. Thank you, brother. Great answer. Great answer. Alex, and then we have time for one more question after that, guys. Alex, you're up.
All right, appreciate it. All right, this is two-part. And by all means, if this is too intrusive, let me know, and I apologize in advance. All right, so first of all, obviously you explained how you were going through some dark times while on Wall Street, and it was just kind of opening up your spirit into something bigger and greater. So the first question is, did alcohol have a place in your life during that time? Does it still to this day? How did you manage that whole bit? Second question is related. Do you still partake in, or do you use or partake in using cannabis or anything else to gain higher consciousness to help you along your journey? Because being having achieved so many great things, both physically and mentally, I'm wondering if you've used any cannabis to help you along with that, if you've struggled with alcohol, or if that's been an issue, kind of along those lines right there.
Yeah, no such thing as too intrusive. I love the deep stuff, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, so I found myself in a very dark season before the pandemic, and I was waking up often with a morning cup of Joe, and it wasn't filled with coffee. But I can't speak as to like why alcoholics and drug addicts exist, or why that happens to them. I can just tell you my philosophy. And I think that I was drinking because I was looking to escape and fill a void of the fact that I had no purpose. And I think that purpose is one of the coolest and greatest things anybody can have, because when you have purpose and you're on a mission, you don't want to escape or sabotage that. So that was a season when, let me just be real clear and vulnerable, I was drinking definitely more than I should have. But once I started, and for the wrong reasons, but once I started running and then CLS, and I had purpose in my life, I didn't want to sabotage what I was doing. So today I have a very healthy relationship with alcohol. In fact, on the weekends, my fiance and I, we love a glass of tequila, and once in a while a glass of red wine, and that's really it. I drink because I want to take a load off after a long week, and just celebrate life. But I don't need to drink. I could also not drink for a month or two, no problem. I just have a healthier relationship with it now, and I have a lot of purpose in my life. So it's more of like, celebrating the toast. In regards to the second question, because of the spiritual path and journey that I'm on, especially with Kabbalah and all this stuff, I'm constantly pushing the boundaries of my capabilities and entering new consciousness with this work. So I don't see a need for me right now to like look into other stuff that would elevate it. I know like ayahuasca and plant medicine is very popular. I'm not frowning upon it. I'm open to it one day, maybe. But because of the path that I'm on, I'm constantly pushing and elevating my consciousness. And this wisdom never ends, literally going deeper every single day. So I haven't tapped into that stuff as of yet. but I guess I'm not opposed to it. I hope that wasn't, I hope that was a good answer. I'm just being honest.
No, I appreciate the candid response, brother. Very, very well put together. Thank you for that.
Of course, brother.
That was awesome, man. Anyone else, guys? One last question. Everyone raise their hand if it was anyone else. Going once, going twice. Okay, we're done. So Craig, brother, this was better than I even thought. I mean, I read your book. We hang out at dinners. I might see. Are you going to be with Meltzer this weekend?
Yeah, will you be there Saturday?
I think so. I think me and Clinton are going again. I think we're going. So
Let's do
yeah,
this.
I can't wait to see you again, brother. And
Let's do it.
Craig, if anybody wants, besides your book, like I think you even left your cell phone number. Like, could they join your community? What else? What should they do next if they want to learn more about what you do and
Yeah.
get connected with you, brother?
So anywhere you guys listen to podcasts, the CLS Experience, we dropped a sick one today with NFL legend Drew Bledsoe. Obviously, the book, you guys have the reinvention formula, social media at Craig Seigel _CLS. We have a free texting community, and we send out inspirational texts throughout the week. It's free. All you have to do is just text the number I just did, and you guys will be on there. You'll get nuggets, inspiration, ideas, business stuff throughout the week. And then we also have our own private community called the CLS membership, which is growing rapidly. There's 600 people in there. Actually, our weekly call is right after this, 12 o'clock noon on Wednesdays. If you guys want the link for that or anything like that, I'm happy to send it to you. Just text me, whatever the case may be, and you can catch a vibe and see if it's for you and so forth. But most importantly, let's just all stay connected.
And brother, thank you for being the first guest on the Brotherhood, guys. Was he awesome? To give him a round of applause, everybody. Perfect way to kick it off, man. Thank you so much, Greg, brother. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you guys so much, brother. You're the man.
Thank you. This was
Hopefully
awesome.
I'll see you Saturday, brother. Saturday.
Yes.